You are watching a master at work.
The kid's back!
Bandana Blake back again, more content for the culture, giving you food for thought. You do the dishes. Now, RFK Jr. is going viral right now for talking about when he was younger, all of these things, autism and all these different diagnoses was never a thing when he was a kid. And people are pushing back, of course, talking about when a lot of this stuff was first diagnosed way before he was even born. And, you know, you can get into all of that. He says wild shit from time to time. But the real takeaway that everybody needs to get from that press conference, outside of what's going viral in that clip, is that the Trump administration is now going to be banning certain food dyes in our food that has an effect on our health.
Today, the FDA is taking action to remove petroleum-based food dyes from the U.S. food supply and from medications. For the last 50 years, American children have increasingly been living in a toxic soup of synthetic chemicals. The scientific community has conducted a number of studies raising concerns about the correlation between petroleum-based synthetic dyes and several health conditions, such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, obesity, diabetes, insulin resistance, cancer, genomic disruption, GI issues, as I've seen in the hospital, and allergic reactions. For example, this Lancet study conducted a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled study on food dyes and concluded that artificial colors in the diet, quote, result in increased hyperactivity. So why are we taking a gamble? Parents, moms and dads, have also tried to raise attention to the issue. Some parents have observed that these chemicals cause hyperactivity and even aggressive behavior, and that it subsides when the chemicals are removed from the diet of the child, and sometimes even reoccurs when those petroleum-based chemical dyes are reintroduced.
I've heard a lot of parents who have children with autism say that as well. Like, they take certain foods out of their diet and they notice a drastic difference in the child's behavior.
I know from my experience taking care of children as a doctor, you have to always listen to the mom. Other studies have found that artificial colors that create vibrant colors mess with the child's developing brain to make ultra-processed foods more attractive, even when the child already feels full. These studies have associated food colors directly with obesity and diabetes. Well, America's children are sick and suffering. 41% of children have at least one health condition, and 1 in 5 are on medication. The answer is not more Ozempic, more ADHD medication, and more antidepressants. There's a role for those medications, but we have to look at underlying root causes. The F in FDA stands for food. Now, there's no one ingredient that accounts for the child chronic disease epidemic. And let's be honest, taking petroleum-based food dyes out of the food supply is not a silver bullet that will instantly make America's children healthy, but it is one important step. This administration is not interested in continuing down the path of doing the same old things as we watch our nation's children get sicker. We need fresh, new approaches. Cancer and diabetes in young people is going up at an alarming rate, and nobody seems to know why. We have to turn our attention to underlying causes, such as chemicals and toxins that children are exposed to, not just more insulin and chemotherapy. And let's not forget that the best way to lower drug prices is to stop taking drugs we don't need. 30 states concerned about this very issue have introduced bills or laws with a patchwork of standards for food companies. So the food industry, which has many good people, has asked for clarity. So today, the FDA is taking the following steps. Number one, establishing a national standard and timeline for the food industry to transition from petroleum-based food dyes to natural alternatives. Number two, initiating a process to revoke authorization of synthetic food colorings, including those not in production, namely citrus red number 2 and orange B, within the coming weeks. Number three, taking steps to eliminate the remaining 6 synthetic dyes on the market from the U.S. food supply, specifically red dye number 40, yellow dye number 5, yellow dye number 6, blue dye number 1, blue dye number 2, and green dye number 3 by the end of next year.
And for those who are curious, this is what it's pretty much like. This is like a bowl of Fruit Loops in Europe versus a bowl of Fruit Loops in America. Because they want to make it more attractive, the bottom one is more vibrant, bright, and fruity, and is dyed with toxic food dyes that is now going to be banned. Give me the less toxic one, if that's what the difference is, just so it can look cuter. That's crazy. The effect it's had on our country and on our children, and unbelievable. Unbelievable. This to me is major and more important than what RFK Jr. said in that clip. Why? Because a lot of this stuff is only allowed in America. Why do you think that is? There's other countries that are healthier than our country, and they don't have all of this stuff put into the food. And a lot of people are just uninformed and unaware. As parents, you're working, you got so much stuff going on. A lot of times you're just grabbing whatever the kids like to eat and you're going. You're not reading all of the ingredients and all of the things that you're putting in the food, trusting that our government and that the FDA is doing what's in your best interest as an American taxpayer and as a consumer, that they're not going to be giving these companies the green light to poison you and make you sicker just so they can have better profit margins, or that way they can make the food look cuter. And that's basically what it boils down to. So we have this administration using RFK Jr. stepping up and saying, nah, we're not having this any longer. And I think this is really important.
This is Doggy Diamonds of Doggy Diamonds TV, and you are now watching The Blake Check. Make sure you tune in, subscribe, it's free. Hit the thumbs up, it's free. And leave a comment. You might not agree with everything, or you might like what's being talked about, but we need to hear from you. Peace.